right, let's get our other Facebook groups in here before it's officially time to go. There we go. 1 and 2. Good morning. Good morning. It is Tuesday, 7/11/2023. It's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell, writing solo today. Scott is doing the whole dad, baseball, travel thing. So he's going to be out all week, which means you're going to see me again live Thursday morning. I won't be doing Wednesday morning on Scott's channel. And tonight's going to be Lance and I because Carl's out too. So I'm around. I thought I was the one who took off summers. No, I'm just kidding. But definitely some fun stuff coming up where I'll be out as well. But good morning, everybody. Nick Kendell. And we're going to talk a little bit of Broncos today, talk some Sean Payton, talk some Pro Football Focus. And as always, if you guys have any questions at all, you guys drive the show. So if you have anything that you want me to talk about, anything about the Broncos, NFL draft, or whatever, hit the chat up. And if you want to be so kind, like our guy Troy here, coming in with a super chat, $9.99, that's even better. But if not, make sure you get your comments in there. And good morning. Good to see everybody. Troy, good morning, Troy. $9.99. Troy has been absolutely killing it since May, I want to say, just coming in almost every show. Feels like every show, Troy. $9.99 super. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Seriously, it really is such a help for the show, and really do appreciate the support. Troy comes in and says, "Hey guys, seems like they should compare coaching staffs, not head coaches," talking about the PFF article that has Sean Payton ranked as outside the top 10 of the coaches in the upcoming season. And he says, maybe that is implicit in what they do. I doubt Sean Payton forgot how to coach in the last few years, so the rankings seem off. Yeah, that's the reason I brought the this topic up for the show today, just clicking through things. And typically they have a filter by Broncos. And I saw that article and I was like, where the heck is Sean Payton? I guess he is not here, which, again, very much surprised me. But yeah, the Sean Payton missing the top 10. And I do think that probably the rankings do also include the coaching staffs in general, because the head coach gets all the credit for the coaching staffs and whatnot. So I think it's probably is the overall coaching staffs are baked into the head coach rankings. But I agree with you. I mean, head coach probably makes up 50% of the overall equation, maybe 60 for the team, because they're the most stable, especially over multiple seasons. They're setting the direction. But in a single year, I mean, the offensive line coach, defensive line coach, obviously the coordinators, special teams coach, I mean, all that stuff really does matter. So I am curious to see if they would include those guys. I don't think they mentioned that at all in here, but that's okay. Man, Sean Payton's not on the top 10 according to Pro Football Focus entering the season. Doesn't really matter that much. Let's see where he's ranked at the end of the year, and we'll go through the list and talk about something. But I think, Troy, I definitely agree with you. Broncos this should include, baked into it, the overall coaching staff, and maybe that's the reason the Broncos aren't in it, because Vance Joseph has been questionable as a defensive coordinator. I don't think he's ever coached a top 10 scoring defense as a defensive coordinator. I could be wrong on that one, but I think that's true. And then Broncos brought over what's his face from the Chargers, who really stunk last few years, or not stunk, but really did not get the best out of having an incredible quarterback in Justin Herbert. So I am curious to see how those all come together. Who is the Broncos offensive coordinator? I should definitely know that. It's the coffee. Joe Lombardi. There we go. Duh. Joe Lombardi. So not so great with the Chargers fired. They now have Kellen Moore, of course, but Sean Payton out of the top 10. So thank you so much, Troy, for the $9.99 super. We got Jeremy Sean in the house saying, morning, boys. Just boy today. And PFF don't live in Broncos country. No, they do not. But they still give us stuff to talk about, so I do not blame them. Hey, we can get mad online. It's fun times. Donald Wilson Jr., DWJ, saying, good morning, Nick, Scott, and Broncos country. I'll pass it along to Scott. Says, PFF, surely we're not going them any credence given how they've reported in the past. I do like to see what people who are not attached to the Broncos have to say about the Broncos. Just in the overall formula, there are obviously people who have biases against the Broncos, some that just, overlook them because they have been overlookable the last nearly a decade now. Gosh darn it. But that's okay. We'll see what happens here. We're not overlooking them because that's why you guys come here. We're talking Broncos on here, talking ball. Appreciate that. But yeah, PFF, we'll get into it. Zach Powers, morning. Good to see you. Alabama Chagreen saying, good morning, gentlemen. Nick, have you done any parts of the Pacific Coast Trail? I have not done anything on the Pacific Coast Trail. That's the one in Vancouver Island, I believe. That's correct. It's definitely on the list to do at some point. but I have not done any parts of the Pacific Coast Trail. Now, I have done parts of the Pacific Crest Trail, done some parts in Oregon and also out here in Washington, and I have a few parts this year that I'm going to do as well, but not the Pacific Coast Trail. I believe that's the one on the south part of Vancouver Island. You have to let me know, Alabama Shagreen, if you've done it also. If you guys have done it, that's pretty awesome. I have a buddy who's doing it here pretty soon, so I'm curious. Chase Wellner saying, howdy, y'all. Howdy to you. Good morning. Good morning. Michaela Israel, one of our favorites. Good to see you, Michaela. Good morning, Nick. Good morning to you. Amy Alley's in the house saying, good morning, Broncos country. Good morning to you, Amy. Hope you're doing well. And we got Mark coming in. $10 ruse. Thank you so much, Mark. $10 coming in supporting us. If you got anything else to say, that's let us know, obviously, in the comments. But the $10, I mean, heck, man, you're speaking my language there with the support. So appreciate that, Mark. Hope you're doing well. Hope things are not too hot down there in Texas. I can't stand it. I think the Pacific Northwest has made me soft when it comes to temperature. Tim Durr, good morning, Nick. What's good, Broncos country? Not this article, but we'll talk about it soon. Keith Brugman, Nick, breakfast by yourself? We're here for you, buddy. It's breakfast by myself today. It's breakfast by myself Thursday, but that's okay. Scott's got things going on, and we'll see what he does when I am out, backpacking, hiking. I got a big sawtooth trip coming up. Going to be out next week. I'm supposed to climb Mount Adams this weekend. Didn't get a chance to do it before, but systems are a go right now. Looks like the weather's going to be good. So wish me luck. It's I think it's 12 miles, but it's like 7,000 feet of elevation. So it's straight up, but it'll be fun. I'm excited. That's some good old fashioned type 2 fun. Dave Glassman, good to see you. Dave, Michael Ronquillo, always coming in with the support, saying good morning, Nick, on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos and buck 'em. Tim Durst, I'll drink some Gatorade with you, buddy. Don't do coffee. That's, you know what, more for me. Appreciate that. And what's on his face? Boys in the chat too. I don't have anything too crazy on my face, I think, but anything in the corners? No, we're good. Pearl Heater, good morning. Good to see you, Pearl. We got Roy. Good morning, Nick and Broncos. Buck the so-called analysts. Hey, I'm a bucking the so-called analyst too. So no, he also says, I think the Broncos will be solid this year. I hope so. I hope so. It's been too many years of covering this team where they haven't been solid, which has been very frustrating. God, the last solid season for the Broncos was like 2016, and I started covering them in 2017. So I don't even know if I've actually covered a solid Broncos team. Man, that's just painful to say. Isaiah Stacks coming in here. Good morning. Good to see Isaiah Stacks. And we're all cut up. Keith also saying good morning to Michael. Appreciate that. And also we got Kevin Gray saying, wow, you did come in. Thanks for no early disappointment. You're my favorite plug. Denver Broncos for life. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're here. We're hanging out. We're going to have a good time. It'll be a shorter episode today, but that's because my vocal cords can only take so much, by myself talking here. And sometimes the chat, if you guys are killing it, then we'll keep it going. I feel like I've said a few times, like, oh, we'll do a half an hour show, and it ends up being an hour because the chat is so lively and just great insight and analysis from you guys as well. So we'll keep it going as long as you guys are going, but aiming for about half an hour, 40 minutes. We'll see, especially because I'm doing solo again on Thursday. So appreciate that. We also appreciate Michaela Israel coming in with the super sticker, $3. Cannot see what the super sticker is on my end, but I'm going to assume it's a picture of me successfully summoning Mount Adams, manifesting that greatness here, waking up at like 1 a.m. to start that next day. It takes 2 days to do. So excited for that. My buddy that I'm going with, he's Australian, and he's like is pretty hardcore mountaineer. So I'm a little intimidated. I don't know if he's listening right now. I told him that I do this, but a little intimidated, but we're going to kill it. It's going to be great. Send good vibes, though, for me this weekend. But yeah, guys, welcome in. We're going to talk this Broncos right now. Pro Football Focus recently did an article on, June 28th. So not too recent, but recent enough that we haven't talked about it. They did their top 10 coaches entering the 2023 season. And surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly because it's been off for a year, but surprisingly, we have Sean Payton, an omission in the top 10 of the coaches entering this season. So just going to go through this list right now to kind of highlight some of these guys. And you guys tell me who on this list should not be ahead of Sean Payton. If you are going to have Sean Payton in the top 10, I probably would have him closer to the bottom of the top 10 personally, but there are some names on here where I'd be like, I'd probably rather have Sean Payton. But let's get to it. Number one, they have listed here, Andy Reid. No complaints from me. Andy Reid is probably the number 1 to number 3 head coach in the NFL right now. What he's done with Philly, now at Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City was just, spinning wheels on ice for a number of years there. I think if you guys recall, it was 2013 pretty close to right before Andy Reid got there. They had the number 1 overall pick, and they took Eric Fisher, offensive tackle from, I think he played at Central Michigan. But yeah, they were pretty darn terrible. He comes in there, turns them around pretty quickly with Alex Smith, and then they get Patrick Mahomes, and man, just rocket ship to the moon from there. But yeah, Andy Reid, number 1. He got no complaints from me there. Number 2, they have Bill Belichick, obviously the head coach of the New England Patriots, probably, arguably, the greatest overall head coach of all time. You can't really separate his career without mentioning Tom Brady. His best seasons were obviously with Tom Brady there, but so I think you can probably say the best head coach of all time, if not, top 3. Number 2 overall this season, entering this year, considering the skins on the wall. I got no issue with it at all. Number 3 coming in, my personal favorite head coach in all of the NFL besides Sean Payton, because go Broncos, but Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has been with the Steelers for a number of years, since 2007, and he's never had a team with a sub 500 record. That is unbelievable. Mike Tomlin's been an incredible head coach for the Steelers. I would trade a first-round pick for him. I mean, God, he's unbelievable. So Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches in the league, is there as long as he wants, and man, he's just an incredible head coach. Number 4 they have coming in here, Kyle Shanahan. They say, first line here in the article, LOL, Shanahan can't win the big one. I would take Kyle Shanahan on the Broncos. I think, man, maybe we're cursed because of that decision back in 2016. Was it 2016 or 2017 where the Broncos chose Vance Joseph over the hometown kid, Kyle Shanahan? I mean, I know there was some weirdness between Joe Ellis and Mike Shanahan. I believe I could be misreporting that dynamic, but that was one of the big reasons that Kyle Shanahan, the Shanahans, didn't really come back to Denver. I think it was Joe Ellis. So that was a curse after that one, unfortunately. But Kyle Shanahan 4 overall, not going to argue it. I think I would have him over Sean Payton right now, but we're starting to get to the point where I think you can have some arguments. Number 5 overall, John Harbaugh. Love John Harbaugh. I remember there was a couple years ago, there's some questions that John Harbaugh maybe could be traded. He's an incredible head coach, been so good for the Baltimore Ravens as well. Former special teams coach as well for the Eagles before going there. Just an overall great head coach. Love John Harbaugh. I would definitely take him, and I probably would take him over Sean Payton as well. Number 6, Sean McVay. Now, it's weird because the Rams were dreadful last season. I think the stars aligned for them in the 2021-2022 season where they won. Almost kind of like how the stars aligned for the Broncos in 2015, where the injury luck really didn't hit them too hard, and they were able to coast and roll their way into a Super Bowl championship with some injury luck and things bouncing their way. I mean, nobody's going to fault the Rams. I don't fault them for winning. The games happen, and it's how it is. I don't fault the Broncos for 2015 staying really darn healthy on the defensive side of the ball and having that unit. But Sean McVay, number 6 overall, I could hear an argument for Sean Payton over Sean McVay, but Sean McVay has had better recent success. So if you want to put him there, if you want to put Sean McVay here over Sean Payton, I think we can have a discussion. But I think this is where we really start to have a conversation. Doug Peterson, number 7 overall to the Jacksonville Jags. I think we've reached the spot, guys. It's number 7 for the Jags. Number 8, Nick Sirianni, the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 9, Sean McDermott, who I really do like, but at the number for the Buffalo Bills at 9. And then number 10, second-year head coach, only 1 year of head coaching experience, Brian Daboll for the New York Giants. So, yeah, I think overall looking at this list, it is a little bit of a travesty that Sean Payton doesn't make the list overall. So I'm going to say hello to the chat again, see where we're at, because I had the article pulled up, say hello to some people, but we're going to circle back to this. Let me know what you guys think. So I'll read the list again real quick before I do that. Number 1, Andy Reid, Kansas City Chiefs. Number 2, Bill Belichick, New England Patriots. Number 3, Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 4, Kyle Shanahan, San Francisco 49ers. Number 5, John Harbaugh, Baltimore Ravens. Number 6, Sean McVay, Los Angeles Rams. Number 7, Doug Peterson, Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 8, Nick Sirianni, Philadelphia Eagles. Number 9, Sean McDermott, Buffalo Bills. And number 10, Brian Daboll, New York Giants. Let me know what you guys think, if Sean Payton should make it, if at all. If he doesn't, tell me why. But looking at this list, I think Sean Payton would have to be listed in a top 10 coach. And we can kind of hypothesize why he is not on here as well. Bama X coming in saying, good morning, Nick in Broncos country. Good to see you, Bama X. Hope you're doing well. Always good to hear from you, Bama X. Always appreciate you coming in. Who are the guys this year on Alabama that we should be watching out for? I know that they don't have the big-time quarterback, nor does Georgia or Clemson, I believe, but should be obviously Alabama in the trenches, the defensive talent they have, weaponry that they have, should still be pretty damn good. We got Gary Palmer coming in, $9.99. Thank you so much, Gary. Says, good morning, Nick. Good morning to you, Gary. We appreciate you. Jeremy Sean, Payton seems like the kind of guy to take this personally. I hope so. In fact, Payton seems to be online on Twitter a lot. You guys should tag him on there saying, Payton, why are you not a top 10 coach? What did you do? What happened? And I think you would take that personally. Insert the Michael Jordan meme. I took that personally. So I know that Sean Payton has some of the top odds, if not the single top odd, for the coach of the year for the NFL this upcoming season. So we'll be curious to see where it looks at the end of the year. This is just, hypothesizing, predicting, projecting, if you will, from PFF. And it's hard to be great on projections from time to time. So I do respectfully disagree with him on this list that Sean Payton is excluded. Zach Powers coming in. Zach always has great comments coming in. So I appreciate you, Zach. Really do. I mean, you do a good job with some analysis on here. I always like to highlight what you have to say and add on to it. The biggest thing that scares me about Sean Payton is that I don't think he will be open to a rebuild next year if necessary. Long-term creates unhealthy cap and then retire. That's always been a concern with bringing in Sean Payton. You saw what kind of happened with the Saints. They continually kick the can, and they've continued to do so, but it leaves them, or it doesn't leave them, it leaves them little room for flexibility moving forward. So that would be concerning. I think if you move on, let's say this team bottoms out this season, not very good, and Russell Wilson is the Russell Wilson we saw last season, you almost have to take a short-term rebuild, don't you? I mean, just the cap hit is going to be unbelievably massive. You don't have a lot of guys coming up that you have to pay. So I think you could take a 1 to 2 year hiatus, so to speak. You still know Sean Payton's a great head coach. And you kind of this is definitely a rebuild here for short terms, but then, the Broncos, the head coach, they're going to spend, or the ownership, they're going to spend. But if Russell Wilson is dreadful this season and they have to move on from the contract, definitely could see them go for a soft rebuild on this team. Not a full out tank like we're seeing from the Arizona Cardinals, but I could see a soft rebuild if Russell Wilson is just horrible this year and they have to move on from him and eat those 2 years of just bad dead cap. But we'll see. That's definitely something to watch going forward. This is a possible reality that could happen that would be worthy of criticism. One of my biggest issues with the Elway era was that they continuously tried to compete, and obviously it's the NFL. You should always try to compete, but you also got to be real with yourself of where you are as a roster and a team and set yourself up to go for it when it is time. I think the Broncos actually did pretty well with that. The years prior to bringing in Russell Wilson, I think they set up a pretty good foundation, but then they went all in Russell Wilson, and I think the move itself at the time looked like a good one going for the quarterback, but the evaluation on the quarterback maybe was wrong. We're going to find out this year again. Was it Nathaniel Hackett? Was it just Wilson with too much power? We saw the quote from Sean Payton. I think it was with Mark Schlereth talking about making Russell Wilson do things and that as a quarterback that he is not. Now putting him in a situation where he can do things that he excels at. That'll be fun to watch this season. So we'll see. FC Donnelly coming in. I think you're about right here. FC Donnelly says Payton should be about 6. I think it's definitely a cause. And Tim says maybe because he was out of coaching last season. I think the being out of coaching definitely makes him out of sight, out of mind on this list. But still, I think he's a coach for this upcoming season. We're projecting top 10 this upcoming season. So I think he should probably be on this list. Jeremy Sean says Payton should be 4 or 5. Well, yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't put him at 4 or 5 on this list, but he'd be knocking on the door. Jerron Washington, Sean Payton is a perfect coach for us. I hope so. I mean, he's definitely going to be excited to spend the Broncos ownership money, that Walmart money. He's not shopping in the clearance rack, that's for sure. But I think he is the right coach at the right time for Denver. But we'll see how it plays out. We got Roy Osborne coming in saying switch Daboll with Sean Payton. So Roy says that Sean Payton should be 10 overall. I think that he should definitely be ahead of Brian Daboll. I think Brian Daboll did a phenomenal job last season with Daniel Jones and that Giants team that had been rather disappointing / relevant for a number of years. But I would probably have Sean Payton and all he's done ahead of Sean Payton. And we got Zach coming in. This is exactly where I was at. Payton should be fall around 6 or 7. I think 6 or 7 is exactly the right spot. for Sean Payton on this list. I would have him above Brian Daboll. I'd have him above Sean McDermott. I'd have him above Nick Sirianni. I'd have him above Doug Peterson. The one that I have a hard time with is Sean McVay. Sean McVay is, been a revolutionary coach in the NFL. They kind of, everything out of that 11 personnel, that wide zone. A lot of people have tried to mimic what he does, the coaching tree out there with Sean McVay. So, and he's had great success. Last season was the first year where they were pretty bad and the quarterback was bad. The offensive line totally fell apart for them. They were a very top heavy roster, and all the injury luck that they had in 2021, 2022 kind of fell apart last season. They regressed to the mean. So I think that if you wanted to put Sean McVay and what he's done in his short stint over Sean Payton, I would not argue with you too hard. I might disagree. I would disagree. I might disagree. But I think that that's probably right around. That's the one that I could debate. It depends on how I wake up that morning. Like, oh, Sean McVay's been really incredible right away for a team that had been just totally crap for years and years and years, and turned that Rams team around. So maybe that what he did with Jared Goff too. So I'd have a hard time arguing definitively Sean Payton, Sean McVay, one over the other. But let's hear what you guys think. I definitely think it's around 6 or 7. I would put John Harbaugh above Sean Payton right now. Definitely Kyle Shanahan above him. And then the top 3, I think, is easy. Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid. Wouldn't put Sean Payton above them. But if we have a great year this year, we can reopen this debate. We got Jerron Washington saying people can sleep on Denver. They won't sleep on us once we shock the world. Your lips to the football god's ears, Jerron. It's been too many off seasons of Broncos going to shock the world. The only thing they shock is my bowel movements. God, they've been dreadful. Whatever the heck that means. But I hope they do shock the world. We got Keith Brugman saying, who should be in the top 10? Belichick, not anymore, and Brian Daboll. Sean Payton should be in the top 10. I think Bill Belichick should be in the top 10 still. I know that they've not been as good, but the defenses have still been phenomenal. And there's just too much incredible years from Bill Belichick, just maximizing talent too. On paper, that's not been a great team, and he's still been squeezing out talent out of there. So I still would have Bill Belichick in the top 10. I probably would put, entering the season, I'd probably put Mike Tomlin 2 with Bill Belichick 3. But, man, I just could not. Maybe it's because I have just an incredible fear of Bill Belichick. He's a very intimidating person, but I would have him up there. Brian Daboll, yeah, he'd drop out for me. No disrespect to him. He's really good offensive mind, up-and-coming head coach. I just need to see it again. Anything can happen in one season. They were great last year, but now they're paying Daniel Jones big money. What's happening with Saquon Barkley? I just want to see it again out there, but Daboll is definitely up-and-coming, without a doubt. We'll see how that plays out. Zach Powers, I started thinking a rebuild would be easier, dumping the rest of the roster and keeping Russ as a stopgap. Russ dead cap this year is rough. You split it over 2 seasons. And also it makes it so you are clearing out the human dynamic in the locker room, which could be a problem if you're just keeping Russell Wilson. Not only if you're starting a different quarterback instead of him, but, also the relationships in the locker room. The other thing is there's a massive, I think it's $37 million that kicks in on the 5th day of the league year next year. And maybe they don't want to pay him that if he's been struggling to save $37 million. So I think it's $37 million, which is, God, I'll take one of that million. Give me half. But I think that, I guess that's possible. But if the dynamics are weird, can you imagine the relationship between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson? If Russell Wilson bottoms out this year and you're just carrying around as dead weight on the team, they might even work something out in that case where Russell Wilson can move on. But that's the worst case scenario in the multiverse of realities that we could have coming up here. So hopefully things all just work out and everything's hunky-dory with Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, and this Broncos team is relevant again for the first time in a while. But definitely some stuff that could happen. Jesse Francisco Sanchez, good morning, Nick and Broncos country! Exclamation points. Man, who needs coffee? That's a slap in the face. Thank you so much. A good slap in the face. That's no kink shame on that one. Appreciate you, Jesse. Facebook user saying, morning, bud. Been a while. Been working like crazy. Smash that like button and share, guys. With the players we have, I kind of smelling a no-fly zone again. Maybe not as good, but the wide receiver we have at corners, bring down safeties for man, great linebackers, and we get after the quarterback. 10 to 13 wins. I love it, Facebook user, whoever this is coming in here. But I disagree with the very last part. I think that the Broncos' defensive front is probably one of the bottom 8 in the NFL this upcoming season in terms of talent. I don't love the depth they have right now, and I just don't see many pass rushers that I can depend on. I think DJ Jones is a very good player, but two sacks last season. He's not really a disruptor in the pass game, so to speak. He's a very good player. You love to have him up there, but not a Pro Bowl level talent. Zach Allen maybe could be a Pro Bowl level talent, but we had one very good year and some years that were not as good with some injuries up front. So we'll see what he looks like. And then at edge, I mean, Frank Clark has been older, definitely dipped the last few seasons. Randy Gregory can't stay healthy. What's going on with Baron Browning? I just do not see it up front for the Broncos this season. Maybe it's because I have such a high bar for defensive line talent. It's something that I'm always chasing. Personally, I'd always be chasing, but I think that the secondary could be pretty darn good. But I do not see the defensive pressure ability on this unit from a personnel standpoint. I mean, that the no-fly zone doesn't exist without, a Von Miller type up front. They just don't. So that's probably the biggest difference maker there. You do not have a Von caliber player up there that, was the straw that stirred the drink for that defense. Man, he was incredible. God bless Von, man. We love him. We got Bam X, and the biggest draft out of this year will be cornerback Kool-Aid. I can't say the last name. McKinstry, but hopefully we won't be anywhere near the top 10 draft at the end of the season. I definitely recognize Kool-Aid as the name. He's probably the number one cornerback. I do got to hype up my guy Cooper DeJean at Iowa, but he's a little bit more of a mismatched defensive back kind of guy because he's 6'2", 210. I'm curious if he can play boundary cornerback, but I'm curious if he gets kind of a Derwin James kind of role coming in next season. But we'll see. Really, really good athlete. We got Mail coming in saying, y'all need to realize Sean Payton hasn't had success in a long time. If you judge a team based on Super Bowls, the Saints were actual real contenders maybe with 3 years with him. They had a lot of years where they were like NFC South champions and pretty darn good as well. But yeah, no, I think, I'm not saying he has to be number one overall, but the consistent success, Bill Belichick has also not been great for about 3 years now, and he's number two. Granted, not the same level of success, but I think Sean Payton's done well enough to earn a top 10 in this list. But we got a guy who disagrees here in Mayola, and you know what? God bless you. I don't think you're inherently wrong on this one. So it's definitely possible. He said it's possible he comes in tanks. It's a real possibility. Yes, it is. It's not always anything's possible, right? Especially Broncos country should be keenly aware of that after what happened with Russell Wilson last season. We got Achy Dragon saying, shock your sensibilities. The key is not having sensibilities to begin with. Cristiano saying, good morning, Nick and Broncos country. Good to see you. Keith coming in. What makes Bill Belichick a top 10 coach entering this year? Look at how he messed up the coordinators last year and their performance record. The defense has been pretty darn good there. And I do agree, though, what they did last season with, who was the head coach there? Fired from Detroit. I can't even remember. Yeah, that was laughable last season. We'll see what it looks like this season as well. I mean, Bill Belichick really does have to kind of have some good years here out the gate. Otherwise, we're going to always be like, he's a great head coach, but it was always with Tom Brady. So we'll see. Just too many great seasons, and what he's done with the defense too. I mean, how he's been able to manipulate and change his defensive schemes over the years, going for those years with the great Patriots in like the mid 2000s, they were 3-4, and then everybody kind of went to a 3-4. Then he went to a 4-3, and now he's kind of playing a tight man front with a lot of man coverage and double teaming teams number one and using man coverage on an island against teams number two and a lot of cover one. I mean, it's just what he's done defensively, being able to pivot is been pretty incredible. So Keith, I don't think I still have him in my top three, but again, maybe this is me just overrating the incredible years where they were just, the superpower in the league. So we got Troy coming in. Who's the best offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator right now? I'd have to look through a list off the top of my head. Offensive coordinator, I'd probably go. The guy that intrigues me the most is Ben Johnson over in Detroit. What they did the last season with Detroit, I can't believe he didn't get a head coaching job. He was pretty darn incredible. So a big fan of Ben Johnson. DC, I mean, is it crazy to say it's Ejiro Evero? I want to look at an overall list, but Ejiro Evero is pretty darn good, and he could be a head coach a year from now as well. So we'll see. Bam X coming in saying, call me crazy. Alan Regress once Dayball left Buffalo for New York. Yeah, I mean, not surprised. I don't think that's crazy at all. We'll see how it looks this season. And Mayola coming in. Facts, Denver doesn't have a quarterback. Hopefully, Sean Payton is able to put Russell Wilson in a position to do what he does well. Hopefully last season was a little bit of a an awakening for Russell Wilson, that he is not a, Peyton Manning style quarterback. He's much more of a play action under center, vertical deep shot kind of guy that plays off of a good running game. But that requires a good offensive line and the ability to scheme around those areas that are not as strong for the quarterback. So will be interesting to see how it goes. Oh yeah, Isaiah Stacks coming, the defensive coordinator from the Bengals, has also been really good. They've done really good in game planning, and it was Patricia. There you go, as the offensive coordinator for the Patriots for a year, which was just dreadful. So I think overall, guys, Sean Payton, I would have him at about. I'm going to be conservative here. I'm going to put him at 7 on the list. I'm going to have Sean McVay above him, and I will have Doug Peterson 8, Nick Sirianni 9, and then Sean McDermott 10. So Sean Payton comes in for me at 7 overall. I mean, just what he's done for the number of years with the Saints, the way to change the offenses of the Saints as well. A lot of it was around Drew Brees, but I mean, coming in, having success with Jameis Winston, having success with Teddy Bridgewater, turning around that team that was, I mean, they called them that. Scott would come in here and talk, about all the history of how bad the Saints were and how quickly Sean Payton changed things there for an absolute loser of franchise to year one, I think, coming in and making the playoffs. So I think that I would still have Sean Payton in here, been one of the better offensive minds in the game. Also, think about Sean Payton. This is interesting for me with him, is that he's not a system coach, so to speak. He's not coming in and he has this incredible system like you're kind of seeing with Sean McVay and some of these Kyle Shanahan things, where it's this beautiful system and you have these offshoots. Not many Sean Payton coaching tree coordinators have peeled off and been successful head coaches. I can't even think of very much, because it's really been Sean Payton and his ability to play week-to-week matchup football on the offensive side of the ball that has been the key to it. It's not the system that he's teaching and passing on. It's Sean Payton's brain and ability to maximize what he has. So I think that makes him an even more valuable head coach. Maybe not great for the ability to bring in coaches long-term or bring back coaches, or also get those potential compensatory picks for minority coaches leaving after 2 seasons to be head coaches. But that is Sean Payton has been the system for this. So a lot of matchup football, and we'll be very curious to see how it looks. But I mean, you got to be excited he's here in Denver. I'll have him at number 7 overall at the list on this one, and won't fight too hard on that. Sean, if you want to have him above Sean McVay, that's great. If you want to have him like Keith over a guy like if you want to have him over a guy like, Bill Belichick, then God bless you. I probably won't do that, but it will be interesting to see. Cristiano coming in, 50-50 chance. Russ hangs around longer or a lower percent. I think 50-50 is right where I'll put it right now. I'll totally walk that edge and be non-committal. This year, the too many variables. I know it's too small of a sample size with just 1 year to know where it's going to go. But from what we've seen, Sean Payton, everything he's done, he has kind of distance himself from complimenting Russ and committing too hard to that relationship with Russell Wilson. So he's going to have to play well or he's gone. I think that's my opinion. It's going to be very interesting to see. And it's certainly possible, as Mail was saying, it's definitely possible that Russell Wilson is washed. Another guy on this list that I just did want to give a shout out to that I believe deserves a shout out is Pete Carroll. We saw Pete have a really good years with Russell Wilson, who we see now has a very specific style of football he needs to play, and Pete did that and maximized it. And then what Pete did last season for that Seahawks team that's pretty devoid of a lot of defensive talent, a lot of people discounting Geno Smith. Pete Carroll's been a heck of a coach for a number of years. So I think Pete is another guy on this list that at least deserves a shout out and an honorable mention. Been a very good head coach for the Seahawks for a number of years. Zach Powers coming in. Who are the top 3 players for the Broncos removing value, health, contract purely on the field? I mean, it's going to be really hard for me to not account for value in this as well. But just thinking about, like, if it was Madden ratings, who would be the highest overall rated players? Probably number 1 overall would be still Patrick Surtain for me. Number 2 would still probably be Justin Simmons, and he's a safety, so the value would be a little bit lower on that one. Number three, man, it's probably Ben Grubbs. Ben Powers, Grubbs is a different player. Ben Powers would probably be number 3 there. He's a little bit lower because of the guard ability, but he was great last season. I think he's going to be a very good addition. He's the one who stands out to me just thinking about the roster overall. Got paid a big contract as a guard as well. So it's probably Grubbs. I could hear an argument for DJ Jones as well, but I'm going to give I couldn't pick 3 defensive players. I needed to go with somebody on the offense. So I guess I'd go with Grubbs, but maybe I'm overlooking somebody. You guys can let me know in the chat. I did not. That's the thing about these, the live stream or the responding to the chats, right? I have not done my homework on this one and really thought about it. So this is just off the cuff. So I think I'd go with Powers, but definitely an interesting one. Keith come in and says that McDermott has turned around the Bills and their offense with a defensive background. He definitely has. Again, it's kind of like the Bill Belichick thing where how much of it is the head coach, how much of it is just hitting the quarterback out of the park. You don't know until you separate those guys, but he's definitely done an incredible job with the Bills, and that was a pretty pathetic Bills team for a number of years. And yeah, Tim coming in and saying Powers as well. You guys let me know. Isaiah Stack says Judy. I think if I was putting these guys in Madden rankings right now, I'd probably have Powers ranked ahead of Judy, just in pure like the numbers out of 100, but it would be up there. We also got Mayola coming in and said, love to see Sean with Willis, who's apparently doing very well this season. He's talking about Malik Willis. I mean, heck, bring in Malik Willis and have him play the Taysom Hill role would be pretty interesting to see that. I guess he's been better than Levis out there, but obviously because of politics and whatnot, they'll keep Levis. But should be pretty fun. We also got Reselling Adventures coming in saying, good morning, Nick. Just stopping in, but we'll catch the entire show later. Appreciate that, Reselling Adventures. We got FC Downley coming in saying Pookie Williams is number 3. I'm taking into account health there for that one as well. But I'm going to have to go Powers as that number 3 player. I think Sean Payton, or excuse me, Justin Simmons and Patrick Surtain are easy to discuss. A year ago, I might have said Draymond Jones as the number 3 there. You have an argument for Judy. You have an argument for Javonte Williams. You have an argument for Mike McGlinchey, Zach Allen as well. Randy Gregory if he's healthy. But I'm going to go with Powers. They paid him big money. I think he's going to be good this year. So, yeah, and any of the big free agency additions, says Cristiano Roden. So I'd go Powers, as Tim says here. Powers. Appreciate that. But yeah, guys, we're at 36 minutes. My voice is starting to feel a little bit hoarse, so I think we're going to wrap it on up here. Appreciate everybody coming in. You guys actually really did kill it with the super chats today. Troy Bauer, Mark Schrader, Michaela Israel, Gary Palmer, Michael Ronquillo in the house as well. If I missed anybody's here on Facebook, I apologize. Scott's typically handling the Facebook side of things on those, so I hope if I missed, it's not because I don't love you and care about you. It's just I don't have the ability. I don't pull up Facebook at the same time. Otherwise, I'm afraid my CPU will crash, and I don't want to get this beautiful face or this ugly face any uglier than it already is. But appreciate everybody coming in. If you have any other topics or questions that you'd like me to get into next Thursday, always down. If there's something you just like, Nick, I believe this is worthy of a whole show, then hit me up on Twitter. It's there at the bottom, at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, you can follow me on, Threads? ND Kendall. All right, follow me on Instagram too. I'm posting all my hiking pics. Did a sunrise hike on Sunday morning, left Seattle at midnight, got to the top of the second Burroughs Mountain. It was me, my group of 4 other people, one additional person was very nice, and about 20 mountain goats, which was incredible, and got out to Rainier for sunrise. So pretty darn incredible. But yeah, guys, it's a lot of fun today. Make sure you're following me on Twitter, like I said, at Nick Kendall MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at BFB_pod, as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join our Facebook communities, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as the ticker says here underneath, please subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. Hit that bell icon. That should be maybe the right corner here somewhere. I don't know. So that way you know when we go live. And yeah, we'll be live again tonight. It'll be Lance and I tonight with Carl gone out in Carolinas and Scott out as well. So Scott's out all week. Just going to be me again Thursday morning. Sorry, guys. I know you're here for Scott. He's the one who gets comments from some of our users about how beautiful he is. But appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out with me today. Michael Ronquillo, great show today. Nick on Broncos for breakfast. Thank you so much. FC Downley saying, be real. We have a lot of good players, so the right skill and bring out the best. You hope so. Got to stay healthy too. Good is gracious. Jeremy Sean saying, no offense, but if Simmons is our second best player, then that is concerning. Simmons might be the best safety in football, but he's playing a non-value position. So I think he led the league in interceptions last year, didn't he? For safeties at least, and he missed like 4 games or something. So he's still pretty darn good. But yeah, I guess that is somewhat concerning as well. Tim saying, thanks for another good pod, Nick. Buck you too, Tim. We appreciate that. Dominique coming in and saying, hey, Nick, I'm late. How are you and my Broncos family? We're good. We're getting out of here, though, because running myself today and need to save my energy for the voice tonight. Cristiano coming in saying, you the podcast man, Nick. Appreciate that, I think. And Baymax says, good job, Nick. Enjoy the day. Go Broncos country. Go everybody in here. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out today. Like I always like to say when I end these shows, make sure you go out there and make that conscientious choice of choosing kindness and compassion. A lot of ugliness out there, a lot of insecurities, but if you just come at it, thinking, how can I be kind? I think it really does make a difference. So, do what you do, control the controllables, and appreciate everybody coming in today and hanging out with me today. We'll see you again tonight on Building the Broncos. Until then, have a great rest of your Tuesday. Go Broncos, buck 'em.